Welcome, gentle listener, to Sleepy Facts. Here knowledge loosens its laces and lies down beside your breath. This is your soft corner of the night, where science is slow stories are patient and you never have to keep up. Let your shoulders fall. Let the day blur at the edges, and let your mind drift toward the part of you that still loves wonder. Inhale like dusk arriving. Exhale like moonlight spreading. Outside, the world may still be bright and busy, but in here, everything moves at the pace of your breathing. Imagine the noise of the day dissolving the way mist lifts above a lake at sunrise. What's left is only stillness, only the hush where curiosity can stretch unhurried. Tonight, we stay close to home, not in space, not in distant galaxies, but on the one world that has cradled every story you've ever heard, every breath you've ever taken. The Earth is not just a planet. It is a long, continuous miracle, wearing soil and rivers and forests like a dream. And when we listen closely enough, we discover that life here is stranger, kinder, more persistent than we were ever taught. So settle in. Let the bed become shoreline. Let the room become twilight. We are going to walk very slowly through the quiet wonders of the living world. The world turns softly beneath us. Oceans breathe in tides. Forests breathe in light. And somewhere under the dark skin of the sea, a creature is doing something gently impossible. Floating in warm waters in the Mediterranean, in far-off currents, drifts a jellyfish so small it could be forgotten, and yet it carries a secret that unsettles time. Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish, does not simply grow old and stop. When life becomes too hard, when injury frays the body, when age leans in, it does something no human can do. It goes backward. Like a story being rewound, like a butterfly returning to the chrysalis, this little being slips back to its youthful polyp state and begins again. Not metaphor, not myth, something real seen under patient lamps in laboratories. It can repeat this cycle again and again like a tide that refuses to finish. It does not make humans immortal. It only reminds us that nature has imaginations we have not yet dreamed. Even in the dark water, even in silence, life is negotiating with time. On land, another slow miracle is happening in a place we often walk through without listening. A forest looks still from above, trunks, bark, leaves quiet, but beneath your feet, a green city is whispering. Roots reach out not blindly, but into partnership. Thread-like fungi, mycorrhiza, braid themselves into roots, into soil, into neighboring trees, until the forest is no longer many strangers growing alone, but one breathing network sharing what it has. A tall, older tree, the kind we sometimes call a mother, can send sugars to a younger sapling shaded beneath it. A tree under attack can pass along a warning, and nearby trees will strengthen their defenses. A birch may even feed a fir. Scientists, delighted and a little astonished, have called it the wood wide web. But the forest has been doing this for far longer than we have had words for it. It is not human-style kindness. It is, instead, something older cooperation written into roots' generosity, braided into soil. The forest, it turns out, is not a crowd. It is a community. And then, impossibly small and yet heroic, there are tardigrades, water bears, little wrinkled, eight-legged pillows of life. Under a microscope, they look like something drawn by a sleepy child round ancient friendly. But their softness hides a stubbornness that almost laughs at the universe. Freeze them nearly to absolute zero, they endure. Boil them, dry them, compress them. blast them with radiation, even send them into space out where there is no air to breathe. And still, many of them wake up afterward as if from a long, patient nap. Their secret is a state called cryptobiosis, a decision to slow life to almost nothing, to pack themselves into a tiny waiting form to become a comma instead of a full stop. Then, when water returns, when conditions soften, they unroll, rehydrate, and live on. In a world that sometimes feels fragile, the tardigrade whispers a different truth. Life is tougher than it looks. But the earth has not always been so gentle. Long before forests murmured, before birds navigated by the poles, this planet carried an atmosphere that would have choked us. Early life, anaerobic, ancient flourishing without oxygen, lived in a world we could not survive in. Then came cyanobacteria, sun-drinking microbes, quietly releasing oxygen as waste. Drop by drop, breath by breath, over millions of years, this unwanted gas collected in air and sea until it became deadly to the old way of living. We call it now the Great Oxidation Event, a time when oxygen, the thing you are doing right now with no effort, was poison. Many creatures died, but others, adaptable and opportunistic, learned to use this new reactive gas for energy, for cells, for complexity. From that slow catastrophe, the line that would one day become us began to lengthen. So even your inhale, this gentle one right now, carries the memory of an extinction and the triumph that followed it. Life doesn't just survive, it rearranges itself. And not all life waits politely for what it needs. We like to think of plants as peaceful, patient, all-green devotion to sunlight. But in the poor soils of bogs and swamps, where nitrogen is scarce and the ground gives little nourishment, some plants grew clever. A Venus flytrap sits open like a small jaw, each lobe brushed with delicate trigger hairs. One touch, nothing. 2 touches, or the same hair twice, and the trap snaps shut in less than a heartbeat. It was counting. Pitcher plants make deep, slippery wells filled with digestive liquid. Insects slide in and never out. Sundews glisten with sticky arms that curl slowly, tenderly around a struggling fly. These plants are quiet hunters. They do not chase. They do not roar. They simply wait, designed for patience. Because even in stillness, life is solving problems. Hold a leaf to the light sometime. Not tonight, not while you're resting, but someday when the sun is kind, and you will see a whole world in miniature. Veins radiate like rivers, carrying water and sugars to every edge. Tiny pores open and close to let breath in and out. Chlorophyll catches light and turns it into food, not just for the tree, or the vine, or the grass, but for nearly everything on earth that eats, including you. Some leaves track the sun, some repel water, some even trap as they feed. No two are exactly alike. Each is a quiet machine, a green engine humming along the great current of photosynthesis. Fragile to touch, fierce in purpose. And if you were to leave the forest now and walk to the shore on a moonless night somewhere in the world, you could see water become starlight. There are beaches in Puerto Rico, in the Maldives, in other warm, hushed coves, where the waves glow blue-green when stirred. It looks like magic, but it is not. It is plankton, tiny dinoflagellates, releasing cold light when disturbed. A footstep, a hand, the curl of a wave, each movement becomes a flare. This is bioluminescence, the same chemistry that gives some jellyfish their aura and fireflies their summer sentences of light. Out at sea, this glow has evolved again and again, more than 40 times across the tree of life, for hiding, for hunting, for speaking in the dark. In the black ocean, life taught itself to shine. And as you look at that shining ocean, remember you too are full of hidden crowds. You walk around thinking, I am one person. But your body is more city than single, more microbe than human cell. Trillions of bacteria and other tiny companions live on your skin, in your mouth, deep in your gut, doing work for you, digesting, training your immune system, even nudging your moods. This is your microbiome, your invisible support choir. No two people have the same one. So even right now, lying still, you are not alone. You are a small universe full of quiet collaborators. The Earth is very good at collaboration. Watch the army ants of South America when they meet a gap. They do not turn back. They do not draw blueprints. They simply begin linking their bodies, leg to leg, ant to ant, until a living bridge appears. Thousands may form this structure, adjusting themselves as others walk over, flexing, tightening, reshaping in real time. No single ant is in charge. Yet the bridge appears, then disappears when the colony has passed. It is collective intelligence made visible, a reminder that sometimes wisdom is not in one mind, but in many small decisions woven together. In the cold, dark sea, another mind is doing something even stranger. The octopus, soft shapeshifting, watchful, already seems like it came from a kinder planet. It can change color, texture, posture. It can solve puzzles. It can remember. But deep inside, at the molecular level, it does something rare. It edits its own RNA, changing how its genes are expressed in real time. Most creatures live with the instructions they were born with. The octopus can revise, adjust, rewrite. We don't yet know all the reasons why, but it folds one more layer of mystery over a creature already wrapped in wonder. Even selfhood, we are learning, is not ours alone. Put a mark on an elephant, a great ape, a dolphin, a magpie somewhere they cannot see without a mirror, and watch what happens when they meet their reflection. If they touch the mark on themselves, not on the glass, it suggests a soft recognition. That is me. Not every animal does this. Only a few. But the fact that any do, that an elephant will stand lingering, touching the bones of its dead, or a dolphin will answer to its own signature whistle across blue distance, tells us that awareness flickers in minds very unlike ours. Empathy, memory, even grief, these may be older than humanity. And all of this, the glowing seas, the frozen frogs, the roots that talk the ants, that build the octopus, that edits the jellyfish, that rewinds all of it, exists on a planet that has already survived 5 great endings. 5 times in the last 500 million years, Earth has watched most of its living things disappear. Volcanoes choked the air, asteroids struck climates, tipped oceans turned deadly, and yet every time from what was left, life crawled back. Not the same life, new life, different shapes, different songs, different colors. Life does not just endure, it reinvents. Which means that every living thing you meet, every bird, every tree, every sleeping human is the descendant of survivors. And so, when you rest tonight, you are resting inside a story that has never stopped unfolding, never given up, never run out of ideas. The planet keeps whispering its strange, tender inventions. Fungi that puppet insects, rainforests that make their own weather seeds that sleep for millennia, whales that sing across entire oceans, flowers that listen for the buzz of bees and sweeten themselves in reply. All of it happening right now in the dark while you breathe. we keep floating further into the quiet, and so the night drifts deeper. Through branches that sigh and oceans that hum, the earth keeps unfolding itself, layer after layer, breath after breath. Each story dissolves into another, like light through mist. We are still walking softly across the living fabric of this planet. Beneath a canopy somewhere, an elephant touches the bones of its kin. In that quiet gesture, there is a language older than words, a kind of memory that trembles between grief and recognition. They do not hurry. They do not look away. The herd gathers, swaying gently, as if the air itself remembers the one who has gone. It's a tender truth written in dust and skin that love and loss are not inventions of humankind. The world feels in ways we are still learning to see. Far below the waves, another story glows in color and light. Coral reefs, cities of animals not plants, rise slowly from the sea, built grain by tiny architects. Each coral polyp, small as a pinhead, feeds by extending stinging arms into the water, catching plankton that drift like dust. Then it builds. It secretes calcium carbonate, turning its body into stone. And when it dies, others grow on top, layer upon layer, until whole landscapes appear beneath the surface. Within those walls of color live more than a quarter of all marine species. A single reef hums with the weight of life fish, turtles, crabs, eels, all balanced on the slow labor of creatures too small to see. They do not rush, and yet they build the most vibrant architecture on Earth. Somewhere near a starfish glides across the coral, simple and calm. If one of its arms is lost, it will simply grow another. Given time, a single fragment can rebuild the whole. No panic, no despair, just patience written into flesh. Life, it seems, knows how to begin again. And beneath the coral, where the light thins to green and then to nothing, drift beings that make their own glow. The deep sea, a black cathedral of pressure and silence, is alive with lanterns. Tiny jellyfish flash. Fish carry lights on their heads. Some communicate through pulses, others vanish in a blink. This bioluminescence has evolved again and again in bodies that will never see the sun. It is how life writes its poetry in darkness, with radiance instead of sound. A conversation made of light between creatures who have never known day. Even the smallest drop of seawater holds galaxies of existence. A single drop shimmering between your fingers can contain thousands of organisms, invisible forests of plankton microbes and drifting larvae. They breathe, feed, divide, and glow, shaping the air you breathe and the clouds above you. More than half the oxygen on Earth is born here in the sea's invisible bloom. When you inhale, you are breathing the ocean. You carry its quiet generosity in every lungful of life. Life is always giving and always remaking itself. High above the waves, birds cross the skies, finding their way home with an inner compass. They feel the pull of the Earth's magnetic field, an invisible map beneath their wings. Some see it as a faint patterns in the air. Others sense it through iron crystals within their bodies. Without knowing why, they follow it faithfully, generation after generation. It is one of the planet's oldest agreements. The Earth whispers direction, and the creatures of air listen. And somewhere between land and sky, in a quiet desert, an old green forest once stood. The Sahara, now a sea of sand, was once a place of rivers, lakes, and grass. Elephants walked there, crocodiles swam, people painted animals on cave walls, never knowing they were painting ghosts of their own past. The climate shifted. The rains stopped. The forest folded into dust. Yet beneath the dunes, the soil still remembers fossilized trees, dry lake beds, seeds of a time when the desert bloomed. Even absence carries memory. Seeds, too, remember. They wait sometimes for centuries, sometimes for millennia, asleep but listening. A single seed can rest in darkness for 1,000 years, until warmth and water whisper the right word now. Then, without hesitation, it rises. In each grain of stillness lies a future patient, unhurried, inevitable. And even when life seems gone, it waits beneath the surface. Bacteria, tiny ancient engineers, built the first layers of the Earth's crust. They created stromatolites, stony mounds, made by trapping sediments, living monuments, more than 3 billion years old. They were the first to breathe out oxygen, shaping the sky we stand beneath. Those ancient builders still exist in shallow lagoons, quietly continuing their work undisturbed and unchanged. The oldest architects of the planet still at their craft. In the forest's shade, a smaller architect stirs the fungus that commands the mind of an ant. Spores drift through the air and settle on a passing body. Then slowly, invisibly, they grow. They reach into muscle, into nerve-changing behavior from within. The ant climbs, grips a leaf, and waits, not knowing why. From its body, the fungus rises, releasing new spores to fall upon the forest floor. It is terrible and perfect. A reminder that power in nature often comes in silence. And yet, just a few feet away, the same forest hums with cooperation. Mushrooms sprout like lanterns from the soil, connected by filaments that talk to roots and insects alike. Through them, forests trade resources and warnings. The same kingdom that creates horror also creates harmony. Nature does not divide good from bad. It only creates balance. Beneath this balance, even color hides secrets. Blue, the color of sky, of sea of your own eyes reflected in them, is almost never made by pigment. In feathers, in wings, in peacock tails, it is an illusion. Microscopic structures bending light, just so scattering wavelengths until only blue remains. It is physics pretending to be paint. Every blue butterfly, every jay, every shimmer of turquoise on water is light dancing on shape, not dye. The world performs for our eyes without us knowing. And somewhere near the edge of a forest clearing, ants march like a living river, bridging gaps with their bodies again and again. Each one moves not by command, but by touch, by instinct, by something unspoken. The pattern is the purpose. The same truth hums across every scale: the cell, the forest, the colony, the earth itself. Everything alive is part of a rhythm larger than its own heartbeat. Each connection invisible, each act a thread in the same weave. The night deepens. The world does not stop. Even now, beneath frozen soil, frogs sleep in ice. Their blood hardens. Their hearts stop, their breath halts. And yet, when the thaw comes, they wake again. Each spring, an orchestra of heartbeats begins anew. Life pauses. Life continues. There is no true death in nature, only transformation. And in that same rhythm, life sings. In the ocean's depths, whales call to one another across entire continents. Their voices travel thousands of miles through salt and silence, echoing from one horizon to another. Each population has its own song, its own language of long notes and low vibrations. The melodies change with time, verses passed down, altered, renewed. Whales speak in stories we can hear, but not yet translate. Their voices roll through water older than our species. They are the poets of the deep, telling us that communication too can be a kind of music. And above them, in skies heavy with rain, the Amazon breathes. Its trees release moisture that rises, gathers, and falls again, creating their own weather, a vast heartbeat of vapor. When the forest thrives, the clouds form. When it falters, the air grows thin and dry. Each tree, each leaf participates in this invisible rhythm that keeps half a continent alive. The Amazon is not just a forest. It is a lung-exhaling sky. Somewhere on the savannah, a giraffe sleeps for only a minute or two, standing in starlight, dreaming upright. Sleep, even in fragments, is enough. Across the world, every creature finds its own way to rest. Some fish close half their brain. Some birds drift while flying. The world sleeps in parts, never all at once. Rest itself becomes a mosaic. We drift with them, the sleepers, the singers, the architects, the dreamers. The story is far from done. Somewhere ahead, another wonder is already stirring. The silence widens, and we follow. Somewhere between night and morning, the earth continues to hum its quiet symphony, not of noise, but of rhythm, of heartbeat and tide. Each moment breathes into the next, and we, still drifting through it, are only another note in its long, unbroken song. Far beneath the snow and stars, the Arctic fox dreams. Its coat glows white in winter, brown in summer, an instinctive camouflage woven into time itself. In the coldest months, it becomes the snow. When the light returns, it becomes the stone. Even its paws are furred to meet the ice. It is not simply surviving, it is collaborating with the season. Life here is a duet between creature and climate, each changing so the other may continue. Nearby, in the same frozen silence, tiny insects wait under layers of frost. Their bodies stiffen, their blood filled with natural antifreeze molecules that protect their cells from bursting. They are alive, but paused, waiting, not dead. When the thaw comes, their stillness becomes motion again. The smallest lives hold the greatest patience. Deep below the ice in water, black as ink, swims a fish with blood like glass. The Antarctic icefish, pale, slow, and nearly transparent, has no red blood cells, no hemoglobin. Instead, oxygen dissolves directly into its plasma. Special proteins keep that plasma from freezing solid. Its heart beats in near silence, pushing life through a body made to survive where no warmth exists. Even here, in places that seem empty, evolution whispers solutions. Not far from this icy realm, another creature wears stillness as armor. The sea cucumber, soft, unassuming, lying among sand and coral, can turn itself into liquid when threatened. It flows into cracks, escapes through impossibilities, then firms back into shape. If harmed, it may even expel parts of itself and grow them anew. A being of no bones, no haste, just adaptability shaped into grace. It reminds us that softness too can be strength. Above the waves, where the water breaks into air, penguins waddle across stone and ice. When the time for love arrives, one penguin bows and offers its partner a gift, a pebble smooth and chosen with care. If she accepts, she places it in her nest, and together they begin to build stone by stone. Among thousands of calls and wings and snow, this quiet exchange endures a love letter written in rock and patience. Everywhere, the world invents new ways to connect. In the forest, termites raise towers of earth and saliva taller than a person. Inside, tunnels spiral with air vents and chambers designed not by blueprints, but by instinct. Warm air rises, cool air sinks, a natural architecture of breath. The mound stays steady, the temperature balanced. Without leaders, without plans, they build cities that live and breathe. What looks like chaos from above is inside perfect order. And in another corner of creation, fire ants meet the flood. When rain swells the rivers and their nests drown, they link together mandible to leg to thorax, forming a living raft. Thousands of bodies interlock to carry the colony to safety. They float for weeks, holding their queen, their larvae, their world, until they find new ground. Each ant moves by touch, not command. Together, they become a single floating life form. In the chaos of water, they remain calm. Across the world, birds perform another quiet engineering, this time in air. Owls glide through night without sound. Feathers softened by evolution catch the wind and hush it. The edges of their wings are fringed, breaking turbulence into silence. They listen to the heartbeat of a mouse beneath snow, and the mouse never hears them coming. It is flight as meditation movement so perfect, it disappears into stillness. And somewhere in that same night, a bat flickers through the dark, seeing, not with eyes, but with echoes. Each sound it makes returns a picture, a map of shape of space of prey. Its world is one of invisible detail, built entirely of reflection and rhythm. What for us is darkness, for the bat is an illuminated landscape of sound. It is proof that perception is only another form of imagination. Life imagines in every direction. The platypus, strange and beautiful, paddles through quiet rivers in Australia, a mammal that lays eggs, a creature with venom, a hunter that sees through electricity. Its eyes close underwater, but its bill feels every pulse of movement around it. It moves between categories the way water moves between stones, unbothered by the need to fit. Nature never asked to make sense. It only asked to exist. In the forest, shadows, flatworms drift like ribbons of light. Slice one in half, and both halves live on, growing what's missing. From a single fragment, an entire creature reappears, brain, eyes, and all. Their secret lies in stem cells that remember the whole, even when the whole is gone. Regeneration written into their design. A reminder that healing isn't always quick, but it is always possible. Above them, perched on city ledges and cathedral roofs, pigeons watch. They recognize faces, remember kindness and harm. They know who fed them yesterday, who passed them by. Even in the noise of cities, they are keeping quiet ledgers of memory. They have adapted to our chaos, finding rhythm in our disorder. Living proof that intelligence is not limited to what we understand. And if you could see deeper into the invisible, into the molecules that built you, you'd find echoes of other worlds. Hidden inside every cell are fragments of ancient viruses, pieces of code that long ago invaded and stayed. They became part of us. 8% of human DNA, once enemy, now ally. Some of those viral genes help you grow, think, or breathe. We are not just human. We are mosaics of survival made of borrowed blueprints and forgotten symbiosis. Even the smallest battles of evolution have become part of your story. And beneath your feet, stretching across forests in Oregon and beyond, lies the largest living thing on Earth, a fungus, vast and unseen. Its network of mycelium weaves through soil and root for thousands of acres. It does not roar or bloom. It simply connects. Thousands of years old, it feeds on fallen wood, turning death into nourishment, decay into continuation. You might walk over it every day and never know. But it is there, the Earth's hidden nervous system pulsing quietly in the dark. The deeper you listen, the more you hear how everything teaches everything else. Bees, for example, watch one another. When one learns to roll a tiny ball to reach sugar, others imitate. They learn by sight, not instinct. In their small world of hum and color, knowledge passes like pollen shared, improved, remembered. Every wing beat carries a lesson. And while bees hum in sunlight, some fish rest in shadow. Parrotfish sharks, and others drift half awake, half aware, one side of the brain sleeping, the other watching the sea. Even dreams are divided underwater. In that half-conscious state, life balances vigilance and peace. Rest becomes rhythm. Sleep becomes survival. And so, we drift with them through reefs and roots feathers and frost skin and starlight. Life is everywhere, layered, endless, repeating its lessons in forms we can barely imagine. It pauses. It begins again. It transforms, sings, glows, and waits. And somewhere ahead, beneath the turning of the earth, another truth begins to rise quiet and luminous as dawn. The dream doesn't end, it only deepens. The longer we drift, the more we see that life is not a single story, but a vast collection of overlapping whispers. Every species, every cell, every grain of sand hums its own verse in the same long lullaby. And the earth listens steady, as breath steady as the stars. In the dense jungles of New Guinea, the morning begins with color and choreography. Birds of paradise unfold their feathers, shimmering ribbons of blue, gold, and velvet black, and perform dances that seem born of joy itself. Each movement, precise each step, rehearsed by evolution's patient hand. Males leap, bow, spin, and flare their wings, while females watch from branches above, choosing partners not for survival, but for beauty. In the forest, dimness courtship becomes art. It is proof that life doesn't always strive from necessity. Sometimes it simply reaches for wonder. Elsewhere, a spider spins silver in the shadows. Its silk thread by thread is lighter than air, yet stronger than steel. Each strand a masterpiece of molecular engineering, flexible, precise, and resilient. The spider builds without rush, stretching invisible lines between branches and breeze, then waits. Patience becomes architecture. And in that patience, miracles of design unfold quietly every night. Light, too, is a language. In fields and forests, fireflies rise small lanterns that speak in flashes. One blinks, another answers. Together, they write soft conversations in the air. Each species has its own rhythm, its own signal love letters flickering through the dark. Some glow to attract, some to warn, some to remind the night that even its quietest corners still hold stars. It's an entire dialogue made of light, a grammar of glimmers that humans can only watch and wonder at. And in the same darkness, other creatures heal themselves with the wisdom of the earth. Monkeys chew bitter leaves, swallow rough bark, rub certain stems on their wounds. They know which plants cleanse, which soothe, which purge. No one taught them this. It lives inside them, an instinct older than language. Science calls it zoopharmacognosy, animal medicine. But to the forest, it is simply another form of remembering. High above the canopy, clouds gather formed from the exhalations of leaves. The rainforest creates its own weather, drawing water from the soil, releasing it skyward, then calling it back as rain. Each tree participates in a vast conversation of vapor and wind. Together, they breathe the sky into being. When the forest thrives, the air remains generous. When it falters, the world holds its breath. And below that forest, in the soil invisible, architects continue their endless labor. Earthworms slide through darkness, turning decay into fertility. They eat what has fallen, break it down, and return it to the roots above. They don't speak, they don't rest. They simply continue sculpting the ground that feeds every green thing. Charles Darwin once said, "There may be no other creature that has shaped the world so quietly." Perhaps he was right. The Earth's beauty often comes from what happens unseen. In deserts, another builder endures. Camels move through sand, like thoughts through silence. Their bodies designed for drought, long lashes to guard against wind-split hooves to carry them across dunes, humps filled with fat to feed them through hunger. They can go weeks without water. When they finally drink, they take in 30 gallons at once, restoring what the desert has taken. They do not hurry. They simply keep moving forward, always finding enough. A lesson of endurance, written in every slow step. And even where we imagine nothing could live in boiling pools and acid springs, life persists. Microbes called extremophiles thrive in water hot enough to scald in acid that could dissolve bone. They do not fear the impossible. They make it their home. They survive by drawing energy from minerals, from sulfur, from the deep chemistry of the planet itself. Perhaps life began this way, in heat and flame, not light, proving that existence does not need comfort, only possibility. From fire to frost, the Earth experiments endlessly. In Australia's Red Heart, kangaroos carry a hidden gift, the ability to pause life inside themselves. When times grow harsh, when drought lingers, a mother can halt her embryo's growth, keeping it still waiting until the land softens again. Inside, her time holds its breath. When food returns, so does motion, and the Joey's story continues. In a single body, nature bends the clock. In the oceans, time flows differently still. Fish shift from one sex to another, males becoming females, or the reverse reshaping identity as easily as color. A clownfish loses its matriarch, and the dominant male becomes her, taking her place, ensuring the circle never breaks. In coral reefs, life is liquid, flexible, responsive, endlessly adaptable. It reminds us that change is not a flaw in nature. It is its art form. And above those reefs, birds trace invisible maps across continents, guided by magnet and memory. Some travel thousands of miles to return to the same patch of ground, the same branch, the same sky. Their hearts beat to an inner compass tuned to the planet's own invisible pulse. It is not chance. It is trust between creature and world, between wanderer and home. The earth, too, keeps its rhythm. Carbon moves through the air you breathe, the leaves that fall, the oceans that rise. It circulates, transforms, and returns life and death, respiration and decay, all part of the same breath. The earth exhales forests and inhales time. Even imbalanced, the humankind becomes part of the pattern, waiting for its next correction. And while the planet breathes, the galaxies remember. Every atom in your bones was once forged in the heart of a star. Calcium, iron, carbon, oxygen, all born in the violent light of supernovae. When those stars died, they scattered their dust, and from that dust came ocean's soil. And you. You are not beneath the stars. You are made of them. The same light that burned billions of years ago now shines quietly through your pulse. Even color, even sight, carries stories of difference. Bees see in ultraviolet. Flowers, dull to us, glow with patterns that guide them to nectar. There are colors in this world we will never see, music we will never hear, but it still exists. We live inside a spectrum of limits surrounded by infinities just beyond our senses. The world is larger than what our eyes can hold. And when night falls again, the forest listens once more. A flower feels the hum of a bee's wings and sweetens its nectar just slightly to welcome it closer. It does not have ears. It has awareness vibrations felt as meaning. The bee calls and the flower answers. Every garden is a conversation. Every pollination a moment of understanding between strangers. And somewhere in a grove older than memory stands Pando the trembling giant. What looks like a forest of aspen trees is in truth one single organism. Each trunk, a stem, each leaf, a thought all connected beneath the soil by a single root system that has endured for tens of thousands of years. It has outlived glaciers, storms and empires, quietly regenerating itself over and over. When one trunk falls, another rises. Pando is not a forest. It is one long breath of life made visible. From the smallest bacterium to the largest living web, the message is the same. Life persists. It does not give up. It only changes its shape. And as the night leans closer to morning, we realize the story of Earth is the story of endurance, written in every form of softness, in glow, in root, in song, in silence. The silence widens again, and we follow. The night hums like memory, low, endless, and alive. We keep floating through the dream, carried now, not by sound, but by rhythm, the slow, patient rhythm of the earth thinking in seasons. Everywhere we look, life is inventing, adapting, beginning again. In the humid green of the rainforest, a frog blinks, and with that blink, it swallows. Its eyes sink down into its skull, pressing the meal toward its throat. Even its vision becomes part of digestion. Nothing wasted, nothing separate. In this quiet design, every organ becomes a collaborator. The frog swallows its world whole, then opens its eyes again, ready for another pulse of life. Nearby, lichens cling to stone patches of grey, green, and gold. They look like stillness itself, like old paint, like the memory of rain. But they are not one organism. They are two, fungus and alga, living as one. The fungus provides shelter and structure. The alga, through photosynthesis, provides food. Together they survive in deserts, in tundra, on bare cliffs where nothing else can grow. It is not always a gentle partnership. Sometimes the fungus dominates, but the result is survival. Two beings weaving one existence, a small but perfect metaphor for life on this planet. And deeper still, beneath the moss and stone, a colony of naked mole rats moves through tunnels like veins beneath the earth. Wrinkled, sightless, and small, they live in darkness most of us could never bear. Yet their bodies tell a different story, one of resilience and defiance. They resist cancer. They thrive on low oxygen. They hardly age. A 5-year-old looks the same as a 25-year-old. Their lives run long and quiet, ruled by a single queen tended by loyal workers. Not beautiful by our eyes, perhaps, but they are perfect in purpose, shaped by necessity into something near immortal. In the quiet tunnels of the world, they hum softly with life. Above the surface, birds murmur in dawn's early glow, crows clever and observant. They plan, they remember, they trade, they hide. In experiments, they save tools for the future, waiting until the right moment to use them. Some even barter with humans. Their minds are precise, deliberate, strategic minds that think ahead. They carry grudges, recognize faces, teach their young. To the untrained ear, a crow's call is chaos, but to the world, it's a testament to patience and intelligence cloaked in feathers. And then quiet again. A whisper of wind over sand, a shimmer of heat rising from dunes. The Sahara stretches wide and golden, but long ago it was green. The rivers that once braided its surface are gone now, but they left ghosts behind dried beds, ancient pollen fish fossils caught in stone. The desert remembers its own rain. Even what seems empty was once overflowing. The planet keeps the memory of water long after it dries. In another corner of the world, under a pale Arctic sun, a fox's coat begins to fade from white to grey. It feels the season shifting, though no calendar marks the time. Its fur thickens or thins with the tilt of the earth, an unspoken agreement between body and planet. Every cell listens. Every creature adjusts. This is what life does not resist change, but move with it. And even color itself is an illusion of movement. A butterfly's wings shimmer blue, though no blue pigment exists within them. Microscopic ridges on the scales bend and scatter light until only blue remains. Color is a trick of angles, a song between light and matter. The same laws that make a sky so endless, a peacock so bright, a dragonfly so metallic, all born from the same invisible conversation of wavelengths. You are surrounded always by physics disguised as art. Somewhere far below, deep under pressure, and salt whales continue to sing. Their calls stretch across oceans, echoing through currents older than history. Each note is a paragraph in a story passed down through generations. Humpbacks add new phrases each year, as though rewriting the language of their species. No orchestra on land can match their reach. Their songs travel through darkness for thousands of miles, carried by the weight of water and memory. We cannot fully understand them, but we can feel the reverence in their tones, a love song to distance, to existence itself. Closer to shore, corals sense the pull of the moon. On certain nights, all at once, entire reefs release clouds of eggs and sperm into the sea, a synchronized dance of light and life. For a few minutes, the ocean becomes a snowfall of creation. The moon's light guides them. The tide carries their dreams. Then, just as quietly, it ends, and the sea resumes its hush. The stars above the corals below, each reflecting the other. Life taking its cues from the cosmos. Above them, bats hunt the night through sound. Below them, sea cucumbers liquefy into escape. In between, frogs freeze bees, calculate, and trees talk through fungal wires. Everywhere, life writes new forms of logic, not the logic of humans, but of harmony. And beneath all of this, the earth itself breathes. The carbon in your lungs, the oxygen in your blood, the calcium in your bones. They move through oceans, stones, volcanoes, and air forever cycling. The planet inhales through photosynthesis, exhales through fire and decay. Even now, every breath you take is part of that same rhythm, ancient, infinite, patient. You are not separate from it. You are it. And if you could step back far enough to see everything at once, you'd see a planet shimmering with connection. Fungi beneath forests sharing food and warning. Bees following invisible paths to nectar. Wolves returning to Yellowstone and reshaping rivers. Seeds waiting centuries for rain. It all moves one vast body made of billions of hearts. Somewhere in the tundra, a wolf howls, and far away a river bends its path. Somewhere in a desert, a seed wakes, and a forest miles away breathes easier. Everything touches everything. The earth is not a place, it is a pattern, and we, for this small and tender while, are part of it. The dream doesn't fade. It flows forward through new shapes, new rhythms, new lives waiting to be heard. And so, the night drifts onward. The rhythm of the earth slows to a deep, steady heartbeat. You can almost feel it beneath everything, under oceans, under roots, under your own pulse. The sound of life continuing softly, endlessly. Above the dark horizon, stars shimmer like silent witnesses. They have watched this planet turn for billions of years, watched it cool, breathe bloom, and mend itself again and again. They have seen continents drift apart like slow dreams. They have seen the first spark of life stretch upward from the sea-learning light for the first time. And they will see what comes next, long after we are gone. But for now, we are here, small, awake, and part of everything. The air hums with invisible architects. Bees move through morning air carrying the pollen that feeds forests and fields alike. Every fruit, every flower, every seed owes a quiet debt to their journey. Their wings beat more than 200 times a second, and yet, to the ear, it is a single note. Their hum is the sound of creation happening in real time. Each bee follows invisible geometry circles, spirals, dances messages written in motion. When one finds nectar, she returns to her hive and dances a map, a slow waggle that tells direction, distance, and hope. Knowledge passed in rhythm. Life teaching life. Nearby, a sunflower turns following the sun's path across the sky. At dawn, it faces east. By dusk, it bows westward. Even while rooted, it moves. At night, it resets ready again to follow the light. We think of stillness as silence, but even plants are never still. They reach, they bend, they listen. When wind brushes through a meadow, the sound you hear the soft hiss. The rustle is not the grass breaking. It is millions of blades bowing and rising together. Each motion makes space for another. Each ripple is a gesture of balance. Even the wind becomes part of the choreography. Far above, clouds gather shaped by warmth and ocean breath. The same vapor that once rose from rainforest leaves now drifts across continents. When it falls again as rain, it may touch the same soil that exhaled it centuries ago. Nothing is ever lost, only translated. And in the rain's descent, the rivers remember their courses. They carve valleys, feed roots, cradle fish, and mirror the sky. Somewhere deep beneath a mountain, that same water becomes ice trapped for millennia, storing the memory of air long vanished. Scientists read it like pages, tracing the breaths of ancient forests, the sighs of vanished seas. Even frozen, the earth keeps its diary. Not all water moves fast. Some drifts slowly underground, filtering through rock and sand, finding its way into aquifers that may never see light again. In those secret lakes cut off for millions of years, life has still found a way. Microbes thrive, evolving quietly in darkness untouched by the surface world. Even in isolation, creation continues. And then there is the ocean, that vast mirror of sky. It covers more than 2/3 of the earth, yet we have barely seen it. We know more about the surface of Mars than about the floor of our own sea. Down there, in pressure that would crush steel glow creatures with bodies made of transparency and light. Some drift like glass. Some walk on limbs so thin they could be mistaken for whispers. Some carry lanterns on their heads like prayers against the dark. The ocean keeps its secrets kindly. Among them lives the Greenland shark, slow, ancient, older than most empires. It moves through the cold North Atlantic like a thought too patient to end. It may live for 4 or 5 centuries, a lifetime, measured not in years, but in silence. Its eyes are often clouded by parasites, yet it still finds its way, guided by senses we can only guess at. Time for the Greenland shark is not something to escape. It is something to inhabit. In warmer waters, sea turtles return to the same beaches where they were born decades later to lay their eggs beneath the sand. They navigate by magnetic fields, by memory written into instinct. They dig, they bury, they return to the sea. And when those eggs hatch, the tiny turtles crawl toward the moonlit waves, drawn by light and destiny. Not all will make it, but enough will. That is all the ocean ever asks, enough. At the edges of continents, mangrove trees hold the line between land and sea. Their roots rise from the water like the fingers of something ancient. They filter, salt cradle fish, anchor soil. When storms come, they stand firm, bending, but not breaking. They are nature's handwriting at the border of 2 worlds, proof that adaptation is a kind of grace. And when the tide retreats, the sand remembers. Tiny crabs trace their patterns. Waves erase them. Then new waves draw them again. Over and over, the same design appears and disappears, impermanent, beautiful, eternal in motion. Just like every heartbeat, every season, every life. Somewhere far inland, the desert blooms. For years, it waits dry and bare. Then, after a single storm, seeds hidden for decades awaken. Within days, the sand becomes a garden, colors spread across dunes, petals opening like a sigh. Then it fades again, waiting. Patience made visible. The desert knows that beauty doesn't have to last forever to matter. And above that, desert, far above all of it, the aurora ripples across polar skies, green, violet, red. Particles from the sun collide with Earth's magnetic breath, and light spills downward like curtains of quiet fire. No 2 displays are ever the same. Each one lasts only minutes, but feels like eternity. The sky speaking in color, the planet answering in awe. Even silence has layers here. The stillness of night is not emptiness. It's full of breathing things. Moths brushing wings in moonlight, owls tilting their heads toward the sound of a mouse, wolves padding through snow. Every quiet moment holds 1,000 soft movements. Even now, while you listen, the world is busy with calm. And in this calm, the truth grows simple. The planet does not rush, yet everything gets done. The rivers flow, the forests breathe, the stars burn. And you, the listener, the dreamer, the wanderer, are part of that same pace. There is nothing you must chase, Nothing you must earn. You are already within the story, already enough. The silence widens, and we keep drifting further into the dream where earth and sky meet in stillness. The silence opens like a tide, slow and endless. Somewhere between dream and dawn, the earth turns patient, luminous, unaware of its own beauty. The story continues softer now, the way a river continues long after it disappears from sight. In the grey hush before sunrise, dew gathers on grass blades like tiny mirrors. Each droplet bends the world into a circle sky, within earthlight, within water. If you look closely, you can see an entire landscape held inside a bead smaller than a heartbeat. Even smallness, it seems, contains infinity. A snail moves through this morning, carrying its spiral home. It leaves a trail of shimmer that glows when the first light arrives. Inside its shell is a perfect mathematical pattern, the golden ratio written in living form. Nature has always known geometry. It learned it before we had words for it. From galaxies to hurricanes to the curve of a shell, the spiral appears again and again, a shape that never ends, only unfolds. It is the fingerprint of the universe. Not far away, ants begin their day's work, tiny and tireless. They speak through scent, passing invisible messages that guide millions. When food is found, a chemical trail appears, a fragrant map, leading others forward. Follow enough of those trails, and you find the story of cooperation written across the soil. Each ant knows little. Together, they know everything. And in the same moment, unseen in the air above, swifts carve invisible paths through clouds. Some will stay aloft for months without landing, sleeping mid-flight hearts, steady wings beating. They drink from rain hunt in air and rest on wind. The sky is their ocean, and they are its quiet fish. To live without touching ground, what a strange, perfect idea. Far to the north, under the ice life hums too. In the black waters of subglacial lakes, microbes thrive on minerals, feeding on stone and darkness. They have been sealed off for hundreds of thousands of years, waiting under miles of ice, alive but unseen. To them, warmth is a story they have never heard, and yet they continue a quiet persistence written in DNA older than the language. Above that frozen silence, the polar bear walks her paws spreading wide over snow. She follows scent, memory, hunger, hope. Her breath rises in clouds that drift away like smoke. Sometimes she must swim for days between flows, trusting that land will come. And when she finds it, she rests her cubs beside her, the vastness around her like an ocean of sleep. Every step she takes is a prayer for survival whispered into the wind. Further south, in forests tangled with light elephants, wander their ancient paths. They remember routes to water from generations ago, taught by elders long gone. Their minds hold maps of seasons of births, of droughts of loss. When one dies, the herd pauses. They stand in stillness, touching the bones, the air, the absence. Grief is not human alone. It is the echo of connection too deep for words. And beneath those same trees, unseen termites build. The mounds they raise are tall as houses shaped to breathe air, moving through tunnels, carrying warmth away. No architect drew their plan. They simply know. Each grain of soil placed with purpose, each tower leaning toward balance. Even in the smallest beings, there is a genius of design. The day warms. Dragonflies lift from the water, their wings transparent, their eyes holding hundreds of tiny worlds. They have been here longer than dinosaurs, longer than the first forests. Each flight a continuation of a story millions of years old. They live only weeks, but in those weeks they are flawless, shimmering arrows of air and light. Short lives, infinite purpose. In meadows, butterflies rest on flowers still wet with dawn. Their wings so fragile are strong enough to cross oceans. Monarchs migrate thousands of miles from cold northern fields to warm southern valleys, a journey their ancestors began and their descendants will finish. None complete the whole trip alone. It takes 4 generations to return. Each flies its part, then leaves the rest to others. Even migration is a shared dream. And below the roots, under soil dark as ink, the earth's pulse continues. Minerals dissolve and reform. Rocks fold under pressure, melt, cool, and rise again as mountains. It happens too slowly for eyes to notice, yet it never stops. The planet is alive, not just at the surface, but deep within molten metal, spinning at its core, generating the magnetic field that shields us from the sun. Every compass, every migrating bird, every aurora owes its existence to that hidden heartbeat of liquid iron. In the deep trenches of the sea, heat seeps from vents like underwater chimneys. Around them, in eternal night, life thrives without sunlight. Bacteria feed on sulfur and methane, turning poison into food. Worms, crabs, and fish gather in glowing gardens of heat and mineral. No light, no air, no plants, and still abundance. Proof that life is not fragile, it is inventive. And high above, far from heat and pressure, snow falls, each flake a miracle of symmetry. No two alike yet, all following the same laws of crystal and air. They form quietly, melt easily, and vanish. But in their short existence, they are perfect. The same water that once swam as fish, drifted as cloud, or fell as rain, is now sculpted into geometry that lasts only moments. Beauty without permanence, meaning without possession. Night begins to gather again, folding the horizon in soft indigo. The day exhales its light, and the stars awaken once more. Their glow crosses time to reach you, light that began its journey before you were born, traveling through emptiness just to arrive at this exact breath. Every star you see tonight is the past made visible. Every shadow you cast belongs to something ancient. The world sleeps, but not in silence. Oceans whisper, forests murmur, mountains breathe frost into the air. Even now, the universe keeps humming its endless song, and somehow your heartbeat has joined the rhythm. It beats with the pulse of tides, the turning of seasons, the slow spinning of the planet beneath your bed. You are not separate from it. You are the earth dreaming of itself. The silence widens again, vast, gentle, full of possibility. The silence stretches out like a horizon made of breath. Somewhere between heartbeat and dream, the earth continues its long conversation with itself, through wind, through waves, through the quiet trembling of leaves. Every sound is an echo of that single rhythm, life continuing. The stars fade gently as dawn approaches. The first hint of light touches the curve of the world, a silver thread drawn across blue shadow. In the still air, dew trembles on spider webs, turning each thread into a necklace of morning. The web catches not prey, but sunlight. 1,000 tiny suns in perfect balance. The spider waits patient and still feeling the world through silk. Its web is a map of vibration, every strand tuned like the string of a quiet instrument. Even silence has texture. Elsewhere, bees begin to stir their wings, buzzing low like a pulse. They rise and fall in slow spirals, drawn by the scent of flowers that have already opened to the light. The petals, soft and unhurried, tilt upward, waiting for the day. Each flower a small sun in itself, alive with color and design. Even here, where everything seems simple, there is geometry and memory, the shape of evolution written in pollen and petal. And beyond the gardens and meadows, deep forests breathe again. You can almost hear it, that deep, steady inhalation of green. Every leaf reaching toward light, every root drinking the dark. Beneath the surface, mycelium spreads like thought, invisible, endless, patient. Through it, trees whisper to one another, sending sugar-warning comfort. The forest is not many lives. It is one long, slow mind, thinking in centuries, remembering in silence. In one corner of the world, the Amazon rises into mist. Billions of leaves release water vapor into the air, each drop becoming part of a cloud, each cloud drifting home again as rain. The forest makes its own weather, its own heartbeat in the sky. A single tree exhales, another inhales. Together they create the atmosphere itself, air as collaboration. When a forest falls, the rain forgets its way home. But when it grows, it teaches the sky to sing again. And far away in places of heat and stone, other miracles stir. In volcanic pools where acid, steams, and minerals shimmer, life persists, microbes that feed on metal and sulfur. Tiny survivors thriving in what should be death. They live where no air moves, where no sun reaches, drawing energy, not from light, but from the chemistry of the earth itself. They are our oldest relatives, the first breath, the first hunger, the first spark that said yes to existence. Every cell in your body carries their echo. Not far from these ancient cradles, coral reefs bloom beneath the waves, cities of color, noise, and pattern. Tiny polyps build vast architecture from calcium and patience. Fish weave through like ribbons. Crabs scuttle over coral towers. Shrimp clean eels hide anemones wave. Each creature plays a note in the quiet orchestra of the sea. From above, the reef looks still, but beneath the surface it hums life building life endlessly. A world made of collaboration, not competition. In the deep places where light never reaches the language of glow, begins again. Bioluminescent plankton drift in the current, each spark igniting when touched. When a wave breaks, it glows blue. When a fish darts past, it leaves a silver trail. At night, entire bays shine with living light. No electricity, no magic, only biology. A chemical conversation whispered through salt and darkness. Even in the blackest water, life writes poetry in luminescence. And somewhere near the surface, dolphins sing. Their whistles and clicks bounce through the water, returning like echoes of joy. They recognize each other by name, unique patterns of sound passed between friends. It's a kind of language, a music of memory. A dolphin calls out across miles of sea, and another answers. Connection made of vibration, of patience, of trust. Underneath the waves, friendship moves faster than light. On land, in quieter corners, other lives continue their small wonders. A penguin kneels in snow, holding a pebble in its beak. He offers it to his mate, a gesture older than speech, a promise made of stone. Together, They build a nest rock by rock through blizzards and silence. Love in its simplest form is often built one small thing at a time. And under the same moon, in a jungle's shadow, a monkey chews a bitter leaf medicine chosen with care. Its body knows what it needs. The forest offers and the animal accepts. Healing is an ancient agreement. We only rediscovered it. Even the smallest acts, a bee turning toward nectar, a leaf opening to sun, a bird folding its wings for rest, each carries meaning. The earth doesn't speak in words, it speaks in rhythm. It teaches through pattern bloom and fade inhale and exhale life and rest. Everything on this planet, it's part of that same lesson. And when night returns, as it always does, the stars reflect that lesson back. The galaxies themselves spiral like shells bound by gravity and grace. Each one holds billions of suns, and yet they move together as if choreographed by stillness. Somewhere in that infinite swirl, our small blue world turns alive with its own quiet miracles. You are listening to one of them now, the sound of your own breath rising and falling like a tide, the pulse of your heart steady as a planet's orbit, the heat within you, a whisper of the stars that made you. Every atom, every thought, every heartbeat stardust still glowing. You are both temporary and eternal, a bridge between beginnings and endings that never truly end. And still the dream deepens. The world slows again, soft as sleep, wide as memory. Nothing has ended. Everything continues quietly, beautifully. The night breathes in once more, and we follow. The night breathes with you, now slow, steady, infinite. It is not the kind of night that ends, but the kind that folds around everything, like the hush between two waves. Here within it, the earth turns gently, carrying forests and mountains, oceans, and light without ever making a sound. Somewhere far below, worms tunnel through dark soil unseen, but essential. Their movement loosens the earth, making space for roots to grow, for rain to sink, for breath to reach the ground. Each turn of their small bodies reshapes the planet a little more. Charles Darwin once said that few creatures have changed the world as much as the worm, and perhaps he was right. They are the architects of renewal, engineers of silence. In their slow and tireless work, they make the world fertile again. Above them, seeds sleep. Some will wait for decades, some for centuries. And then one day, warmth, waterlight, and a quiet awakening. From stillness, a leaf. From darkness, green. Every seed is a promise that life can begin again, no matter how long it rests. Patience made visible. When the rain comes, the promise unfolds. Raindrops fall onto leaves, bounce from petals, soak into roots, return to rivers. Each droplet joins a cycle, older than mountains. Some of that water once drifted in the breath of dinosaurs. Some may one day rise again from your own lungs. We do not simply live on this planet. We move through it, and it through us. In the quiet, after rain, the world smells new. That scent, petrichor, is the perfume of earth itself, a blend of oil dust and memory released by falling water. It is the smell of beginnings, though it comes after endings. Even the ground has its sighs, its ways of remembering joy. Now, as the air cools and clears, birds awaken again. High in the sky, swallows twist and dive their bodies, cutting soft shapes through dawn. To them, gravity is a suggestion, not a rule. They rest on air, they drink from motion. In every flick of their wings, the planet seems to breathe a little easier. On distant shores, crabs decorate themselves with fragments of their surroundings. Shells, sponges, even living coral. Disguise as art adaptation as beauty. Each carries a tiny garden upon its back, a living ornament shaped by instinct and imagination. To survive, they have learned to become part of their world, not apart from it. And in other corners, smaller miracles continue. A jellyfish drifts pulsing gently, a living lantern. A tardigrade sleeps in dust, waiting for the next drop of water to awaken it. A lichen clings to rock unhurried, painting it with color, molecule by molecule. Nothing wastes itself here. Nothing hurries. Even stillness is work. In the ice fields, polar bears move through pale light. Their fur glows with cold fire, white on white, almost invisible. Beneath that fur, their skin is black, drinking in what little warmth the sun offers. Even here at the edge of the world, life has found a way to adapt to balance light and dark, hunger and hope. The bear's breath steams in the frozen air like a quiet cloud of persistence. Below the surface of the snow, insects wait in frozen suspension. Their hearts have stopped. Their blood is glass, yet they are not dead. When warmth returns, so do they, shaking off frost as if it were only sleep. In them, the line between life and stillness blurs, and the mystery of endurance becomes almost holy. Across the plains, giraffes dream standing up. They sleep for minutes, not hours, a few deep breaths at a time. Their dreams are short, but perhaps more vivid for it. Even in wakefulness, they move like sleepwalkers, slow, elegant, unbothered by haste. Tall enough to see the curvature of the horizon, they carry the quiet of clouds in their eyes. And in distant caverns, deep underground, fungi stretch and weave unseen. Some glow faintly in the dark green or blue or white, like stars fallen into stone. Spores drift through air as old as time, searching for dampness for a surface to call home. Fungus is neither plant nor animal. It exists between categories, a whisper of both. And yet, it holds the world together. Without it, forests would choke on their own fallen leaves. With it, death becomes soil, and soil becomes life. The unseen network beneath your feet is older than any tree above. As evening comes again, the first fireflies rise from grass. Their lights blink slowly, signals stories, love songs. Each flash a word in a language of glow. One answers another, then another, until a meadow becomes a constellation that has descended to earth. In their quiet flicker, night becomes alive with conversation. At the same time, far away across continents, wolves lift their voices. They sing to one another across valleys and hills, their howls rippling like wind through pine. It is not just communication, it is communion, a gathering of sound and belonging. When wolves returned to Yellowstone, even the rivers changed course. Grass grew, trees returned, the land healed. A song became a catalyst for life. And when dawn touches the peaks again, everything feels renewed. Not because the world has changed, but because you have seen it more closely. The miracle was always there, in the quiet, in the rhythm, in the endless endurance of small things. The planet hums with soft intelligence. Every drop, every atom, every heartbeat is a note in its song. And you listening now are part of its chorus. Somewhere deep below or high above, another mystery waits ready to reveal itself in its own unhurried time. The dream doesn't end, it only circles back like a tide returning to shore. And that we follow gently, endlessly into the calm beyond sound. And so, the story deepens once more, not forward, not backward, but inward, like a tide pulling softly toward its source. The earth hums below, sky stretches above, and somewhere between them you drift a small bright awareness carried on a planet that never stops breathing. In the hush before dawn, mist curls above rivers, rising in ghostly ribbons. It is the earth exhaling the slow breath of water returning to air. In that delicate space between night and day, everything seems to pause. You can almost hear it, the sound of balance. Beneath that mist, fish move in silence, their scales catching light like fragments of stars. Some can change shape, others can change color, even gender responding to what the world asks of them. A clownfish becomes female when the matriarch is gone. A rasa turns male when the sea needs it. Adaptation is their language, their promise. In every ripple, the message is, the same change is not loss. It is continuation. Near coral reefs, parrotfish sleep in bubbles. They weave themselves into silk cocoons of mucus, transparent and protective, a soft shield against scent and predator. Inside their bubble, they dream, if fish can dream, surrounded by the pulse of their own heartbeat and the slow current of the tide. Even underwater sleep finds a home. Far below them, in the pressure and darkness, strange creatures drift through the abyss. Some make light from within. Some have mouths large enough to swallow what they cannot see. They live in a world where gravity and silence are gods. And yet, even there, life invents beauty. There are jellyfish that glow like galaxy shrimp, that spark when touched, fish with translucent skin that shimmer like smoke. It's as if the ocean has borrowed the stars and hidden them under its skin. And beneath all that water heat rises from cracks in the earth hydrothermal vents, black and white smokers releasing minerals into the deep. Around them, entire ecosystems bloom in eternal darkness. Bacteria eat stone. Tube worms grow taller than a person. Crabs with white shells wander over volcanic rock, their claws gleaming like bone. Here, where no sunlight has ever reached life, builds its own constellations. Above, on land, the rainforests wake. Parrots call from treetops, their voices bright as flame. Sunlight pierces through layers of green, dappling the forest floor in gold. Every droplet, every leaf, every breath is connected in an endless exchange. The air you breathe has touched the lungs of trees, passed through feathers, drifted across oceans. There is no separation between living and breathing, only circulation. And as day rises, even the smallest creatures join the symphony. Ants carry fragments of leaves through tunnels older than empires. Termites build towers that breathe with the rhythm of air. Flies land on dewdrops, drinking mirrors of morning. The earth moves endlessly through millions of tiny gestures. On the open savanna lions stretch in sunlight, their fur glowing with warmth. Nearby gazelles flick their tails alert, but calm their bodies tuned to every sound. The grass sways golden and endless, whispering in a language older than human memory. Here, survival and peace exist side by side, not in conflict, but in balance. And under that same sun, rivers cut their ancient paths, carving through stone, curving through fields, carrying stories of mountains to the sea. Every river is both journey and destination. Each drop that leaves the sky eventually finds its way home. In the desert, heat shimmers above dunes like invisible water. Camels walk in steady silence, their shadows stretching long behind them. They travel without hurry, without doubt, carrying the wisdom of endurance. Their humps are not filled with water, but with patience stored energy for the days when the world gives nothing. They are masters of stillness, teachers of what it means to trust in rhythm. At night, the same dunes glow silver beneath the moon. Wind carves their shapes, erasing footprints as quickly as they appear. Nothing here lasts long, and yet everything repeats. A single grain of sand may have been mountain once, river once, sea once. Even the smallest particle remembers transformation. And when morning returns again, life blooms anew. The cycle continues, green to gold, day to night, seed to tree, silence to sound. There is no end, only motion slowed enough to see. In the depths of caves, glowworms spin silk threads that hang like strings of light. Their glow lures insects, close their webs shimmer in underground twilight. The cave becomes a galaxy in miniature, each worm a star suspended in stillness. Above, on mountain peaks, snow catches sunlight, scattering it into prisms. The world mirrors itself, light in dark silence, in sound, stillness, in motion. And within you, that same reflection lives. Your breath mirrors the tides. Your blood flows like rivers. Your thoughts rise and settle like wind. You are not beside the earth. You are part of its rhythm. Somewhere in a quiet forest, a tree falls. The crash echoes, then fades, feeding moss, feeding fungi, feeding soil. From that soil, new roots take hold, pulling the fallen back into life. Even endings are beginnings in disguise. And in the quiet, after the fall, light filters through soft green forgiving. It touches everything without choosing. You can almost feel it on your skin now, the slow warmth of continuity. Beneath that warmth, the heart beats once more, slow, steady, the sound of earth reminding you nothing is ever truly lost. It all becomes part of the great unbroken whole. The dream does not end here. It only softens, growing wider, gentler, more infinite with each breath. We drift onward with stars behind us, oceans beneath us, and silence waiting ahead. The silence opens like water, deep, weightless, endless. Here the story moves slower than thought, softer than time. Each breath you take ripples through it, connecting you to mountains, oceans and skies that have never stopped breathing since the beginning. Above the horizon, the moon lingers, pale and patient, watching the turning of clouds below. Its pull shapes the tides, stirs the sea, and steadies the rhythm of coral reefs and coastal dreams. Even when hidden by daylight, the moon's gravity never lets go. It is the quiet hand behind the ocean's sigh. Beneath that pull, coral polyps wait for the signal, the exact moment of moonlight when the water glows with possibility. And then, as if answering a silent invitation, millions release their eggs and sperm, at once turning the dark sea to milk and pearl. The ocean becomes a sky of drifting stars, creation synchronized with celestial rhythm. The moon hums, the sea listens, life begins again. Far to the north, where ice reigns and wind sings, low whales rise to the surface. Their breaths break through frost and silence, mist blooming like brief galaxies in the air. Below, their voices travel for thousands of miles, through currents and darkness, through pressure and memory. Each call is a thread of language that ties generations together. They do not shout across the water, they sing through it, their notes passing gently through everything alive. Somewhere, another whale answers, and the ocean fills with conversation older than words. And below them, at the seafloor's edge, the world remembers its beginning. There, in the heat of hydrothermal vents, life was born not in sunlight, but in shadow and mineral. Bacteria gathered near the warmth, feeding on chemical light, and from them came everything. Every leaf, every lung, every breath you take is a descendant of that first invisible spark. We are all made from persistence, born from heat, tempered by water, sculpted by time. In the skies above, birds continue their long migrations. They follow invisible roads, written by magnetic lines, stretching from pole to pole. Some cross entire oceans without landing, guided by a sense no map can show. Inside their eyes and bones, crystals of magnetite whisper direction. The planet itself gives them coordinates, the earth as compass, the wind as memory. Every beat of their wings is both flight and faith. And on land, in the tangled green of forest floors, mushrooms bloom overnight, white, red, gold, violet. They appear without warning, feeding on decay, weaving life from what was once death. Some glow faintly at night, breathing light into soil. They are reminders that even in the dark, the work of creation continues, quiet, patient, unseen. Elsewhere, a single spider spins her web between two branches. She builds by instinct, not by plan, yet her geometry is flawless, a spiral spun from hunger and hope. Each strand vibrates with the memory of touch. When morning comes and dew gathers, the web becomes a constellation. Tiny worlds held in threads. Every insect that flies too fast, every gust of wind becomes part of her design. Nothing wasted, nothing random. Beneath her, in the roots of the same trees, the forest speaks again. Fungal threads carry messages, a pulse of carbon here, a warning there. When one tree falls sick, another feeds it sugar. When danger approaches, signals ripple through the soil like whispered alarm. It's not thought as we know it. It's slower, older, a form of empathy written in chemistry. The forest feels itself. The earth feels itself. And as the wind moves through leaves, you can almost hear that ancient communication, a hush of belonging. Every rustle, every sway, every shadow, all part of one long sentence that never ends. Far away across deserts and tundra, light breaks again. The Arctic fox wakes its fur shimmering white, blending perfectly with snow. But soon, when summer comes, it will shift to brown and grey, matching stone and grass. Its camouflage changes with the seasons, not vanity, but wisdom. The body listening to the world and answering gently. Nearby, in the same frozen landscape, a frog lies buried in ice. Its body is solid, its heart still. Yet deep inside, a quiet chemistry guards it. When spring returns, warmth melts the ice, and the frog wakes unafraid, unchanged, alive again. In its veins runs the secret of revival, the delicate art of waiting without dying. And in warmer lands, seeds sleep too. Some have waited for centuries, some for millennia, buried deep, forgotten by rain and sun alike, until one day, by chance or destiny, they stir. A single drop of water, a glimmer of warmth, and they unfold. Tiny roots searching downward, tiny leaves searching light. The past reborn through patience. High in the mountains where air thins and silence thickens, the wind speaks through snow. It carves drifts, polishes stone, sings through cracks in rock. Even here, where life seems absent, tiny mosses cling to surfaces and birds trace invisible circles above cliffs. Everything that survives here knows the value of stillness. Stillness is not emptiness. It is focus distilled to its essence. And somewhere beneath that snow, in ancient caverns of ice, bubbles of air from 1,000,000 years ago remain trapped. Inside them is the breath of forests that no longer exist, the sighs of animals long vanished. When scientists release them, the sound is like a whisper from time itself. The earth does not forget. Now night returns not to end, but to begin again. The stars emerge, patient and bright, each one a burning story, too far to touch, but close enough to feel. Their light takes millions of years to arrive, yet it lands on your skin in perfect rhythm with your heartbeat. You are both receiver and reflection, starlight and breath. The universe remembering its own shape through you. And as you listen, the world slows even more. Every heartbeat a wave, every breath a planet turning, every thought a small light drifting across the dark. The dream does not end. It simply widens, becoming sky, becoming sea, becoming the soft pulse of everything that ever was and still will be. The silence widens like the universe itself, slow, patient, filled with quiet light. Here everything moves, even when it seems still. Every atom hums with memory, every grain of dust remembers a star, and the night ever so softly folds its arms around the world. Far below the stars, mountains rise not suddenly, but over lifetimes. They move an inch at a time, pressing skyward through layers of stone and silence. To us, they are ancient and unmoving, but to the earth, they are alive, slow rivers of rock breathing, in centuries instead of seconds. Inside them, heat flows. Minerals crystallize. Caves open like lungs filled with the sigh of stone. Even the hardest matter carries motion within it. Inside, one such cave hidden from light water drips. Drop by drop, over years, uncountable, it builds spires of limestone stalactites, reaching down stalagmites rising to meet them. When they finally touch it, is not an event, but a reunion thousands of years in the making. Patience carved into architecture. Bats sleep upside down nearby, wrapped in their wings. Their tiny hearts slow their bodies weightless. They dream in vibrations, sensing the world by sound instead of sight. To them, darkness is not emptiness, it's a map. Every echo, every pulse of air is a star in their own small cosmos. Above ground, wind combs the grasslands. Fields ripple in green and gold, endless and tender. Each blade of grass bends to the same invisible rhythm, the same wind that once brushed over oceans, deserts and faces long gone. The air you breathe now is the same air dinosaurs once inhaled, the same molecules that drifted through volcanoes and forests, through lungs and leaves. Nothing is truly new. Nothing is truly gone. It all circles back in a language of return. In that same wind seeds take flight tiny parachutes of future forests. They drift land rest and wait. Some never sprout. Some rise through cracks in stone, defying all odds. Every one of them carries a map of its own design, written in code invisible to the eye. Within a single seed lies an entire tree, its height, its color, its scent, its lifespan. The universe compressed into something you could hold on your fingertip. And beneath that tree, when it finally grows, the roots meet others. They share food, water, warning, care. A forest is not many trees, but one being with 1,000 faces. Each trunk an idea, each branch a gesture, each leaf a breath of the same whole. When one tree falls, the others feel the change. They lean closer, they share more. Loss becomes nourishment. This is how the world heals, not by forgetting, but by remembering together. Far away, the ocean speaks again. Its waves roll in slow phrases, repeating themselves like a mantra. Every crest that breaks against shore has been here before, as vapor, as rain, as glacier, as tear. The water has traveled farther than we ever will. It has seen the birth of continents, the fall of stars, the silence between ages. And still it moves returning, erasing, renewing. At low tide, pools appear miniature worlds cupped in rock. Crabs scuttle between seaweed. Anemones bloom like flowers made of water. Children crouch to watch, seeing whole universes in a puddle. The ocean teaching again that vastness can be small and smallness can be infinite. High above that same shore, albatrosses glide. Their wings barely move as they travel across whole oceans carried by wind alone. They sleep while flying, half their mind awake, half dreaming. For them, rest and motion are the same thing. Perhaps that's how the universe works too, always moving, yet always at peace. And in the deepest jungles, raindrops fall on leaves, so wide they sound like drums. Frogs answer, birds call back, thunder hums in the distance, and the forest becomes an orchestra with no conductor, only harmony. Every sound fits somewhere. Every pause belongs. In the quiet that follows, butterflies open their wings, drying them in the after-rain light. Each pattern a living painting. Each color a memory of sunlight refracted through time. They will live only days, but in those days they will scatter beauty across miles. They will touch flowers that would not bloom without them. Short life, endless purpose. Evening returns. The horizon blushes, the air cools, and shadows lengthen. In cities, lights flicker on tiny stars, answering the real ones above. Between concrete and sky, the same pulse continues. People breathing rivers, moving wind, flowing through alleys like thought. The planet's rhythm doesn't stop at nature's edge. It includes everything. The hum of electricity, the turn of wheels, the soft sigh of sleep behind windows. Humanity, too, is part of the lullaby. And now, as darkness deepens once again, everything feels connected. Not by sight, not by touch, but by something quieter, the simple wordless truth that all things share the same origin, the same energy, the same endless motion. You are the continuation of that motion, the echo of the first spark, the quiet shimmer of starlight given shape. Every heartbeat you carry was built by gravity, chemistry, and chance. Every breath you take was borrowed from oceans older than dreams. The story has no ending, only transformation. Like tides turning, like stars burning out and being reborn. Like sleep itself folding into wakefulness and back again. The silence expands until it fills everything. Not absence, but fullness too vast for sound. We drift there, suspended between heartbeat and horizon, feeling the world exhale once more. And as that breath reaches you, calm, slow, eternal, you realize the earth is dreaming, and you are its dream. The dream breathes on, no ending, no edge, only the steady pulse of a planet turning in its sleep. The stars lean closer now, their light soft enough to touch, as if the sky itself has slowed to listen. Below, the earth glows faintly, not from fire, but from life. Every forest, every ocean, every cell emits its quiet shimmer. Seen from space, the planet looks alive, not because of movement, but because of memory. Each flicker of light is a heartbeat, a whisper, a reminder that even in silence the world is singing. Somewhere in the dark water plankton bloom, their bodies tiny, translucent, filled with light. When waves crash or fish move, they ignite 1,000 blue sparks drifting like embers beneath the sea. Each spark lasts less than a second, yet together they turn the ocean into a moving constellation. It is not fire, but life that glows. The universe found a way to make the sea itself starlit. In the calm beyond the glow, whales pass again, slow and vast, their bodies like drifting mountains. They have seen more of the world than we ever will. They know the shape of currents, the taste of ages. Their songs travel beyond distance, weaving through the dark like threads of memory. Some say they sing for love, some say for location. Perhaps it is both. Perhaps every sound ever made by a living thing is in some way an act of remembering. And under them, in the trenches of the deep, the pressure rises to 1,000 times that of the surface. They're creatures without eyes, drift through blackness thicker than night. They do not see, they feel. They sense vibrations heat the faint shimmer of chemical light. To them, darkness is not absence, it is home. Each pulse, each flicker, each movement is a conversation older than sunlight. Far above, wind shapes the desert. It sculpts dunes into waves, waves into ridges, ridges into whispers. Nothing stays. The sand shifts with every hour, every gust, a landscape built by impermanence. And yet, in that impermanence lies design. The dunes move like a slow ocean crossing miles over centuries. Even here where it seems nothing lives, lizards hide under shadow foxes, dig for coolness, and seeds wait for rain that may not come for years. Hope buried in dust, patience still certain. In the forest, where the air is thick and green vines reach for light, they climb, twist and cling, using other plants as ladders toward the sun. Each tendril finds its path, not by sight, but by touch, feeling its way forward slow and deliberate. The forest, like the ocean, is a choreography of reaching. Every root, every leaf, every insect plays a part in the slow upward pull toward light. On the savannah, herds move like rivers. Zebras and wildebeests travel hundreds of miles across dust and grass, following rain they can smell from far away. The ground trembles beneath them. Dust rises glowing orange in the sunset. The migration has no beginning and no end. It is the heartbeat of the land made visible. They walk not just for survival, but for rhythm, the same rhythm that drives tides, seasons, and breath. And in the smallest spaces within you, the same rhythm flows. Blood turns, cells divide, atoms spin. The body mirrors the planet, tiny storms in your chest, quiet oceans behind your eyes. Every exhale returns what once was starlight to the air. You are not simply alive on Earth. You are the Earth aware of itself for a moment. In cities, people sleep beneath electric constellations, lights flickering in windows like modern stars. The world hums softly with engines and dreams. Even our creations mimic the cosmos networks that glow connections, that pulse voices that travel through invisible air. We are in our own way trying to remember what the universe already knows, that everything is one continuous breath. As dawn returns once more, the sky brightens with a color the ocean will soon borrow. The air cools. Birds begin to sing one voice, then two, then hundreds, until the morning becomes a choir. Each call simple on its own, but together they form something whole, a sound the day cannot begin without. The earth wakes to its own music. And as the sun climbs, light pours over water, over rock, over leaf, over you. It does not choose where to fall. It simply shines generous, endless, impartial. The same light that once set fire to the birth of galaxies now rests gently on your skin. Billions of years carried in one beam. The planet turns again, quietly, perfectly. The same slow spin that raised the mountains, stirred the oceans, and taught time to move, now rocks you toward rest. You are part of its motion, a note in its song. The dream has no final line, only continuation. The earth sleeps, wakes, grows, breathes, and so do you. The silence deepens, soft as gravity. The story drifts beyond words into pure rhythm, heartbeat, tide, wind breath, repeating, remembering, never stopping. And somewhere, beyond thought, beyond sound, the universe smiles in its sleep, because even now it is still creating you. The dream carries on, quieter now, lighter like mist, lifting off a lake at dawn. We have drifted through oceans, forests, deserts, and stars, and yet the story feels unfinished, as if the earth still has one more breath to share. Listen, there it is. The low hum beneath everything, a resonance too soft for ears, but steady enough for the heart. That hum is gravity and wind heartbeat, and tide the pulse of a living world turning beneath your stillness. In this final stretch of night, the world feels transparent. You can sense the roots under soil, the clouds over mountains, the way the same air moves through lungs, leaves, and sky. Nothing is separate anymore. All of it, the storms, the whispers, the silence, belongs to the same calm rhythm. Far to the south, penguins huddle together against cold and wind. Their bodies form a single circle, each bird taking a turn at the edge, then moving inward to rest, while others face the storm. They survive not through strength, but through sharing warmth. Even in the harshest place on earth, compassion is the rule of life. Across the world, in a forest thick with humidity, fireflies rise once more. They blink in perfect unison, entire colonies pulsing with light. Scientists still do not fully know how they coordinate it. But perhaps it doesn't need explaining. Perhaps it's just proof that beauty often happens when we move together, when each small spark listens for another. In the deep night, wolves begin to sing again. Their howls roll through valleys and forests, bending around trees and echoing against cliffs. They call not in sorrow, but in celebration to find one another, to feel less alone. Their song changes the landscape itself, for where wolves return, rivers reroute forests, heal balance, restores. Their music is medicine for the land. And beneath that same moon, the ocean responds. Whales answer their voices deep and endless. One calls, another replies. Across thousands of miles, a language older than the continents continues woven into the sound of water itself. It is easy to think of the earth as silent, but listen closely, it never is. The sound of wings, waves, wind, rain, they are all notes of the same long lullaby. The lullaby of existence. Every creature adds a verse. The elephant's trumpet, the cricket's hum, the slow rustle of a snake moving through dry leaves. Each sings and the world listens. You too are part of that chorus. Every heartbeat you carry is a small percussion in the universal song. Even the stars contribute their rhythm vibrations, rippling across light years' frequencies, so slow they sound like silence. Every galaxy hums. Every sun rings. The entire universe is one great instrument, and life is the song it keeps composing. And perhaps that's what the dream has been telling us all along, that knowledge can be gentle and science is not cold. And even facts have a heartbeat when you listen softly enough. The same physics that turns galaxies also turns the blood in your veins. The same carbon in a falling leaf once burned in the center of a star. Every discovery, every question is simply another way the universe talks to itself, sometimes as thunder, sometimes as thought, sometimes as the hush that fills a room after someone says, "Wow." So now, as night begins to fold back into morning, you can feel that conversation still going on inside you. Each breath a reply, each blink a continuation. The story doesn't end with the last fact. It deepens into understanding. Because this truly is the secret of sleepy facts. Knowledge isn't a noise in the mind. It's the sound of calm returning to curiosity. It's the earth speaking softly through what we learn, reminding us that wonder was never something to chase, only something to notice. The first light of dawn touches the edge of the horizon. The sky glows pale gold. The stars begin to fade one by one, not dying, just resting, waiting for their turn to shine again. You are still drifting, half in waking, half in dream, carried by the rhythm of everything that endures. The earth turns, the sun rises, the tide returns, and somewhere quietly, a new story is already beginning. The silence settles, the hum continues, the dream expands, and we keep floating further into the quiet. The story never ends, it only changes form.